station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this day before Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got something I want to tell you that you probably don't want to hear, and it doesn't apply to everybody. And why do I have a little bit of reverb going on in my headset? I don't know. But anyway, I want to tell you something that you might not want to hear, but listen to this great idea. Tomorrow when you get together with your family, your relatives, there might be somebody among those relatives that is a veteran that served maybe in World War II. And the part that you don't want to hear is tomorrow might be the last time you see that person. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, World War II vets are, we're losing them every day. That's the part you don't want to hear. The part I want to tell you, though, is that person might be able to leave something that will serve everybody forever if you can get a recording of that person recalling their... It's not easy. It's not always easy to get that conversation going if you can do it. There is a project that does that sort of thing, and retired from the U.S. Army, Colonel Bob Patrick is on the phone. He's the director of the Veterans History Project of the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress. And it is that, and if I have anything wrong, he'll correct me, the Veterans History Project collecting and preserving stories of wartime service for future generations. And maybe it doesn't have to be a recording. Maybe it can be you taking notes or something. We'll find out right now. Bob Patrick, good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Larry and Robin. Good to hear you.
Yeah, good to hear you, too. Where are you?
At Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. So do you actually have a collection of recordings such as the ones I just described?
Exactly. You gave a great lead into what this project is all about. The Veterans History Project was started back in 2000 by the United States Congress.
Wow.
To directing the Library of Congress to go out and collect, preserve, and make available to the public the wartime stories of America's veterans. And these are primarily oral histories. Someone sitting down with a veteran, capturing a first-person account with them, either through an audio or video recording. Also, if they have them, things like photographs, letters, diaries, memoirs they may have written. And submitting all that material here to Washington, D.C., to the Library of Congress, where we preserve it, put it in the proper storage, but also make it available to the public to be inspired by this and informed literally for generations to come.
Now, how does that work? How does the retrieving of the let's say 20 years from now, I go to the Library of Congress and I made a recording of Grandpa tomorrow, okay? 20 years from now, he's been gone, 19 years, let's say, or whatever. And by the way, I'm not speaking of my own grandfather. Everybody this would apply to in my own family has already passed away, so I'm not wishing bad things on my own family. But I'm trying to get to the point where, let's say 20 years from now, I'm with a child or teenager that isn't even born yet. How do I retrieve that? Is it easy? Do I have to apply for something?
It's very easy. First of all, the Library of Congress is a national library. Anyone can come here and use it. And what will happen is this interview that you may have done tomorrow and still hear 50 years from now will be on file here at the library. And if you call a day or two ahead of time saying you're coming, they can pull that recording out. You'll go to one of our reading rooms at the American Folklife Center. They'll cue that up for you, and you'll be able to hear that person's voice or video about what they did.
That is really awesome. And how do we do this? And I don't mean to be jumping the gun if I started midstream with the conversation, but do I take a cassette recorder? Do I have to have an electronic recorder? How do I get the finished recording to you?
We're not talking about a Hollywood production here. It's as simple as a cassette tape recorder or a digital video camera, and sitting a veteran down in a quiet corner and having the conversation with them. We have available through our website a field kit, the Veterans History Project field kit, that talks about the process, talks about how to do one of these interviews. It's not a high-tech thing. It's at least a 30-minute interview or more, and as you know, most veterans can talk much longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
About their stories.
So let me ask you about the
tape or getting that on a CD and sending it in to us.
And is this applicable to a young veteran, somebody just returning from Afghanistan, for example?
Our collection goes from World War I all the way up to the conflicts of today in Iraq and Afghanistan. Predominance of the 90,000 collections we have is World War II veterans, because we were, as you were alluding to, getting the older veterans first because of the importance of that. But we have about 15 to 16,000 from Korea, same number from Vietnam, and several thousand from the more current conflict. So we go the gamut, World War I all the way up to today.
This has to be extremely emotional for the veterans themselves to sit down and recall some of the things that happened to them. Most of the times they were horrendous.
You're absolutely, Robin, and we have veterans that have carried these stories around with them for quite some time. In some cases, World War II veterans are just getting around to tell their stories because we recognize in some cases it's a difficult thing to do. War is not an easy thing to talk about for some of them, but we think that we provide them a serious way to do that, a structured way to do that through the Veterans History Project, one that, as we've been talking about, will be preserved for all time. So it's sometimes tough for veterans to talk about it, but we think we provide an easy way for them to do it.
Every veteran has made a contribution to us, and that includes the veterans who are reluctant to talk about it because, in their opinion, they didn't do much. They'll say, you know what, I wasn't in combat. I did, I was a cook, or whatever. And I always disagree with that. I say, no, I think you made a huge contribution. You made the decision to put yourself there for the sake of everybody else. So do you have many people who, have you heard those kind of stories? Maybe I should say.
Absolutely, and we tell them the same thing you just told, and that's part of the bedrock of this project, is that everybody's story is important. It's not just the grand and glorious things you see in Hollywood and on television. It's what you just talked about. It's the guy who's in the mess hall, the guy who's in the motor pool, the woman who was in the medical tent.
Right.
All stories important to learning about what war was all about and what people went through. So tell people the same thing.
Do you have a lot of women veterans that have taken you up on your offer?
I'm glad you asked that question, Robin. We have had over 13,000 women who have participated with us, but we need more. We need to get the stories of women veterans, again, from Vietnam all the way up to today, that tell us about what they did, because women, as you know, are making a great contribution to our military today, and as they have in the past.
Has Colonel Bob Patrick put an entry in there?
Yes.
Yes, I have. I'm basically a Cold War warrior. I served 71 to 99, but saw some time in Germany, Korea, those kinds of things.
So, Will, tell me about the technology of perhaps the future, or maybe it's around right now. Will there be a day, or maybe it's now, where I can go on my computer and call up one of the files and listen to it from home rather than going to D.C.?
You can, and you can't. As I said, we have 90,000 collections. We've digitized almost 13,000 of those. And if you go to our website, go to our database, the ones that are digitized are marked, and you can actually hear and see these videos even today. And some of these documents I've been talking about, the photographs, the letters, I don't know if we'll ever digitize everything, but we try to do as good a representative sample of what we have or things that we think people are interested in. So, yeah, you can go to a computer today and look them up.
Let me ask you this, and I have a real personal, or maybe a personal/radio business question. Years ago, and this might be 10 years ago, I mean, it's been a long time ago, I solicited something very similar to what you're talking about, and we recently moved to a new studio. And in the move, I found some of these old RDAT recordings, the little that format. I don't know if you're familiar with that digital format, but the point I'm trying to get at is, I looked at them and I couldn't remember if we ever did anything with them, or if they need to be uploaded or transferred to you somehow. So, in other words, I have some of what you're talking about. And I looked at the labeling that I hand wrote, and I happen to know that some of those veterans are no longer with us. Mm-hmm. So, two questions. One is, can I find out somehow if it's already there? And the other one, would it make that much of a difference if it's there twice?
First of all, it wouldn't make a difference if it's here twice. Again, you can go to our database, search by name, and we can see if we've had an interview with that veteran. I tell you, down there in the great state of Florida, it's veteran rich, if you understand what I'm saying. There's veterans everywhere, and we've have a number of them, almost 4,000 that have participated with it.
Oh yeah, I definitely know what you mean. We actually have a show here on Thursdays, hosted by and the whole thing is veterans. So
yeah,
everything. In fact, well, tomorrow they won't, because it's Thanksgiving.
Right. Right. But just to see the veterans as they're recalling their stories, it takes a lot for them to travel back in time to garner these memories, to put themselves on the forefront again so others can never forget.
Absolutely. We have a sign up here. It's a quote from Maya Angelou in our office. It says, there's no agony like a story that goes untold. And too often veterans carry these stories, and in some ways they are a bit of a burden because they haven't been able to get them out for one reason or another. But we have seen cases of once veterans have told their stories, their spouses have told us, they sleep a lot better. They seem to be more comfortable with the military service. They're proud of having done this. So anyway, we can get that story out of them. I think it's important, not only from the nation, but also for the veteran themselves.
So let's swap some stories here. I want to hear some of yours, but I have one of mine I want to tell you. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I recorded my own father, and this is a story he told. If I had it on recording handy, I would play it for you, but I'll just tell you. My father was a tank driver in World War II. And I don't know if this was the Battle of the Bulge. I know he was in that, but this is what he told. He was stuck in second gear, or he was stuck in some gear. He couldn't get the vehicle into the next gear, the tank. And as a result, it was kicking up all this dust. And as a result of the dust, they didn't get hit from that enemy fire. The dust actually protected them. When he went to where he needed to go to figure out what the heck is causing the problem, there was a beer bottle stuck in the way of the gear shifting mechanism. Mm-hmm. And so I said, wow, that was like God looking out for you and keeping you safe. So that's the story I have for you. I think that's a kind of a cool story that a beer bottle somehow caused a problem that literally saved their lives.
Yeah.
Him and the other guys in the tank.
It's a great story because it just shows a human aspect of war, and the boys are drinking beer around the tanks.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
So, do you have any stories that you can tell? Maybe.
Well, there's thousands of them. The one you're talking about women. There's a nurse by the name of Frances Liberty. What a great name.
Yeah.
And she went through World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and she tells the story. It's online of her landing on Anzio Beach with about 20 or 30 nurses that weren't supposed to be there. And if you know Anzio, it was a very difficult battle in Italy. And she recalled that they landed on the beach, and this big colonel came over and said, "What the heck are you doing here?" And the one little 4'10" nurse stood up to him, looking him right in the eyes, and said, "We're here, deal with it." And they went on to take care of the people on the beach. In fact, some of those nurses were casualties on the beach, but she has a very compelling story throughout her military career.
Oh,
Frances Liberty.
That's interesting.
Great veteran.
And when you said the human element in reference to the beer bottle, the fact that these veterans are recording these stories in their own words with their own inflections, I'm guessing that little 4'10" woman, I'm guessing you could hear it in that recording, can't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what's so important is that young people hear this too. This has been the project has been introduced into many classrooms across the country, and young people get a feeling for what it was like to be there, and maybe even put themselves in that situation of what they would do when they were 18 and 19 years old. So. Many aspects of this project is very important for the people.
Very cool. I love this. I love this conversation.
We do need to move on. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Oh, is this a short interview? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Well, thank you so much for being on with us. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will definitely keep pushing the word to participate in this program, okay?
Thanks very much, sir. Veterans History Project. Hope everybody interview the veteran in their life.
All right, and I apologize for running over. I just wasn't looking at the clock. I was having a good time. That's why.
I know.
All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Today in Florida Ag News from the Southeast AgNet, as cotton farmers start to evaluate their crop in this latter part of the season, it seems to be clear that this year dealt our farmers.
Again, a very challenging crop.
That's Dr. Cater Hake, Vice President of Agricultural and Environmental Research with Cotton Incorporated, who says although the challenges that farmers have dealt with recently with weather, weeds, and pests have been a very exciting time for ag researchers.
I know that's tough for farmers.
Which is why he says research in the production area continues to be a priority for the Cotton Research and Promotion Program.
We do have a lot of efforts going on. We're funding close to 300 scientists working on the cotton growers' behalf. So a lot of good ideas and a lot of solutions being generated.
For more information regarding research efforts, along with other services geared towards assisting the cotton producer in maintaining and growing profitability, visit cottonboard.org. And now we have yet another perspective on the ongoing Farm Bill issue with this report from USDA's Gary Crawford.
It's funny, our Farm Bill stories this November are almost exact duplicates of last November. Secretary Vilsack fighting for a new Farm Bill, trying to convince people that extending the old bill is a bad idea. Well, this past week, Vilsack once again was making the case for not extending the 2008 bill yet another year, telling reporters,
"The problem with an extension is that with an extension there come costs, and you don't get the reforms that this bill that is being considered by the conference committee will provide. It does not provide the savings that I think is important to members of Congress as they deal with deficit reduction challenges."
Also, if nothing is done about the bill, Vilsack says his department would, by law, have to implement 1940s policies of production controls and the government buying up commodities at very high prices.
No one wants to do that. And the best and simplest way to avoid it having to be done is by having Congress finish its work before the end of the year.
And he says it's still possible even with a limited number of legislative work days left in the year. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
And I'm Julie McPeak with Southeast AgNet.
On the next Voice of Ocala, amusement park expert Peter Tribuca drops by the show. He's going to talk about the amusement parks and how they can enter into your holiday plans. Plus, City Councilman John McLeod from the City of Ocala to bring us up to date on Project Home Run and all that's going on with the Ocala Yankees. Plus, its Buddy Sports page will have the latest on all the world of sports, getting you ready for Florida State. All that and more on the next Voice of Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. We're streaming live at WOCA.com, The Source.
Hi, Robin. You look tired.
I am. I've been running all over town.
Why? Why not drive?
I need to get the stupid document notarized.
Well, that's easy. You need personal service.
Duh. That's what I've been looking for.
You need to go see Mark at the Personal Service Center. He can notarize that for you, make copies, fax it wherever, or send it out in the mail. Heck, he can even scan it and email it for you.
Really? Where is he at?
2375 Northeast 25th Avenue, on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street. You can call him at 789-6683.
Personal Service Center. Thanks, Larry.
Now is the time to take advantage of Florida Credit Union's CD specials. Our 36-month CD comes in at 1.26% APY. A 24-month is working for you at 1.0% APY. And our 12-month at 0.75% APY. All CD rate specials require $10,000 minimum. With friendly service and rates like these, it's not hard to see why Florida Credit Union has your CD options covered. Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life. Call 352-237-8222 for more information.
This is a public notice. Local residents can now save thousands of dollars on their next car, truck, or SUV. It's not a tent sale, because no tent is big enough to hold this many cars. It's OcalaForSale.com. Say goodbye to sticker shock. OcalaForSale.com has thousands of vehicles with no stickers at all. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, loss proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Here are today's headlines from The Source, WOCA. The Florida Highway Patrol is reporting that a 58-year-old man died yesterday evening when the vehicle he was driving crashed into a tree. The man is identified as Michael Allen Kernett of Ocala. According to the report, Kernett was driving a 2002 Kia Spectra southbound on Northeast 68th Court when, for unknown reasons, his vehicle left the roadway. Kernett, who was on his way home when the accident occurred, was pronounced deceased on the scene by Marion County Fire Rescue. Officials indicated that Kernett may have had a medical condition which may have been a factor in the accident. The crash occurred near the intersection of Northeast 68th Court and 3rd Place in the Ocala Heights subdivision. Yesterday's death was the 48th for the year in Marion County. And Marion County Fire Rescue is reporting that a 75-year-old man was burned over 30% of his body yesterday at a fire in his double-wide mobile home. The man is identified as Charles Radick. According to the report, firefighters responded to the fire in the Sweetwater Oaks subdivision at 3151 Northwest 44th Avenue at 5:03 a.m. yesterday. While battling the blaze, rescue workers found Mr. Radick unconscious inside the home and brought him out. Radick was first taken to Ocala Regional Medical Center and then was flown by helicopter to the University of Florida Health Shands Hospital in Gainesville, according to Jessica Green, a spokeswoman with Marion County Fire Rescue. 68-year-old Roberta Radick said she and her husband were sleeping when she heard the smoke alarm go off at the far side of the home. Marion County Fire Rescue crews had the fire under control at 5:44 a.m. American Red Cross officials were also at the scene to assess Mrs. Radick's immediate needs, such as food, shelter, clothing, counseling, and medication. 6 states have bans against smoking and driving while children are in the car. Florida House Representative Charles McBurney from Jacksonville says he hopes to add Florida to that list. Proposed House Bill 341 has a lot of support around Tallahassee and the state, and the idea is also being faced with opposition from those who say it is a violation of constitutionally guaranteed rights. If passed, the proposed ban would be a secondary offense, meaning law enforcement would have to pull you over for another offense. The proposed bill is set for the next legislative session in March and would go into effect next October. Because the proposed law would be a secondary offense and non-moving violation, it likely will carry a $30 fine. O.J. Simpson was denied a new trial on his 2008 convictions for robbery and kidnapping in Las Vegas, which sent him to prison for up to 33 years. Clark County District Judge Linda Marie Bell ruled that for now the 66-year-old will have to remain behind bars. Simpson, who will be 70 years old before he is eligible for parole, had sought a new trial claiming incompetent legal counsel. Simpson and several friends stormed into a $39 a night hotel room demanding the return of sports memorabilia that Simpson said had been stolen from him. Defense attorneys argued that he was merely trying to recover property that was rightfully his. And the family of a 7-year-old boy says their son was hurt after small meteorites fell from the sky while he was playing outside. Stephen Lippard was in his driveway Saturday in Palm Beach County when he began bleeding. The family initially thought he may have been hit by a golf ball or a bird, but then found several small rocks nearby. The rocks were taken to Florida Atlantic University. Initial tests showed the rocks were metallic and could have come from outer space. Experts are now doing more tests to confirm the possibility. Meteorite strikes around